Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're unpacking the incredibly dense, highly regulated world of the South African private security industry. But, instead of just reading through a bunch of dry legislation, we're going to look at this like a gamified career skill tree. Think of it as a progression system. You start by essentially creating your character and meeting the baseline legal requirements. And then from there, well, you level up through foundational grades, branch out into highly specialized environments, and maybe even reach the elite tiers of VIP protection. It's a genuinely fascinating, structured journey. So let's map out exactly how you climb to the absolute top.
Here's a quick roadmap of what we're covering. First, the absolute non-negotiable gateway, PSIRA. Second, climbing the ranks. Then, we branch out into those closed environments, securing the skies, guarding the seas, and finally, we'll get into elite operations.
Okay, let's dive right into this with Section 1, the Gateway, PSIR registration.
Before you can even think about putting on a uniform or monitoring a security camera in South Africa, you have to pass through the ultimate gatekeeper. That's the Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority, or PSIRA. They govern the entire industry, and their baseline registration, completely mandatory. To essentially roll your character for this industry, you need some core baseline stats. You have to be at least 18 years old and a South African citizen or permanent resident. Critically, you need a sparkling clean criminal record, specifically when it comes to scheduled offenses under the Act. You must be declared mentally sound, and, this is a big one, you cannot be an active member of any official military, police, or intelligence force. If you are a former member, you've got to provide a very specific clearance certificate. This right here is the absolute foundation of legal compliance.
In an industry that is literally built on trust and safety, the official PSIRA badge is the ultimate symbol of vetting and legal protection. It instantly separates the highly regulated professional security providers from those illegal, fly-by-night operators. It proves to clients and the public that the person wearing that badge has been thoroughly background checked and legally sanctioned to protect them.
So how do you actually get your hands on that clearance? Well, it requires a pretty strict three-step digital workflow. Step 1, you must complete training at an accredited center. Now, you don't upload the results yourself. Actually, scratch that. Your training center uploads your course report directly to the PSIRA portal for you. Step 2, once that is verified, you book an appointment online to submit your fingerprints, which usually happens at a designated SAP station or a PSRA branch. And Step 3, you wait. The approval process takes about 6 to 8 weeks, but once you're approved, you get an SMS, you download your digital certificate, and boom, you are officially in the game.
But what if you want to be the boss? The business owner track gives us a glimpse into the intense, bureaucratic paperwork you have to navigate. Opening a security firm is definitely not like opening a regular corner cafe. Every single director or partner must already be registered with PSIRA and hold at least a Grade B security qualification. On top of that, PSIRA conducts a physical infrastructure assessment. That's a literal site visit to ensure your office has the necessary lockable cabinets, dedicated landlines, and the physical means to actually operate securely.
To put this into perspective, the barrier to entry for businesses is intentionally steep. Alongside all that paperwork and the physical audit, there's a non-refundable business registration fee of approximately 7,900 Rand. This establishes the stark reality of the industry right up front. PSIRA wants to ensure that leadership has real professional competence, serious financial commitment, and personal liability before they're allowed anywhere near providing public security services.
All right, moving on to Section 2, climbing the ranks through security grades.
Once you're registered as an individual, you don't just stay at the bottom. You build your career through foundational progression tiers, the PSIRA security grades. And what's fascinating is how fast this moves. Each intensive grade takes exactly 1 week of training to complete. Week 1 is Grade E, where you learn the absolute basics of being a visible patrol officer. Week 2 is Grade D, focusing on access control and managing visitor logs. Week 3 steps it up to Grade C, covering high-risk area supervision and emergency response. Week 4 unlocks Grade B, moving you into a managerial role as a shift commander enforcing discipline. And finally, Week 5 is Grade A. That's the highest standard qualification, focusing heavily on strategic management, risk evaluation, and designing large-scale security solutions.
So, here is a question for you. How exactly do you advance from managing a standard site patrol to protecting international ships and skies? Because standard PSIR grades are really just the beginning if you want to enter the most highly specialized, closed environments in the world.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the dual-track system. Welcome to Section 3, Securing the Skies, Aviation.
Aviation is what we call a tightly closed environment. That means your PSIR grades alone just aren't going to cut it. You need dual-track registration. To protect high-value air cargo and passengers, you absolutely must hold a certification approved by the South African Civil Aviation Authority, or SACA, specifically under Part 110 of the Civil Aviation Regulations. This is a mandatory, highly specialized clearance that operates completely independently of, but in addition to, your basic PSIR vetting.
To earn this certification, you have to get through the Aviation Security Screening course, and it is rigorous. Training priorities include mastering passenger and baggage screening using metal detectors and physical searches. You also have to understand checkpoint operations, and critically, modern skills like identifying insider threats and basic behavior detection. And the stakes are just as high in the classroom. You need a solid 70% pass mark on the theory just to get through. No cutting corners here.
Shifting gears now. Section 4. Guarding the seas. Maritime. Taking our narrative from the skies all the way down to the high-stakes maritime environment, global trade faces some very modern, very real threats, things like international piracy. In this domain, the ultimate role is the Ship Security Officer, or SSO. This is an elite seafarer who is directly accountable to the ship's master, and their responsibilities go way, way beyond just standing watch. They implement the entire ship's security plan. They conduct constant risk assessments for vulnerabilities, like piracy or stowaways, and they act as the strategic liaison with port facility security officers. This is a leader who has leveled up light years beyond a standard guard.
And this brilliantly illustrates the two specialized tracks side by side. On one side, we have aviation, regulated by SACA, which requires that Part 110 certification for roles like screeners and drone pilots. On the other side, maritime is regulated by SAMHSA, the South African Maritime Safety Authority, requiring specific STCW certifications to become a ship security officer. Both are dual track. That means you need the Transport Authority's blessing right on top of your baseline security vetting.
Now, the reason maritime training is so incredibly intense is because of the heavy international treaties that govern the seas. The STCW Convention is basically the global gold standard for seafarer competency. Meanwhile, the ISPS Code is a strict international vessel security mandate that was born out of a global need for heightened security post 9/11. Together, these two frameworks make maritime security training an absolute, non-negotiable legal requirement in literally every single port around the world.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, Elite Operations, VIP Protection.
This brings us to the final and definitely the most high-octane tier of our private security skill tree, handling the most vulnerable targets. In South Africa's unique climate, businesses often require some very advanced solutions. This tier involves VIP and executive protection during corporate travel, armed escorts for high-value cargo to deter hijackings, and securing operations in downright hostile environments. In these logistics and corporate settings, ordinary guarding simply isn't going to cut it. Operators need rapid decision-making skills and visible deterrence capabilities to stop criminals right in their tracks. To really highlight why this matters, listen to this quote straight from the source material. Ordinary guarding services are not always enough. You need a higher level of training, preparation, and rapid decision-making. Elite operators in this space don't just stand at a gate checking IDs. They undergo intensive, specialized training in advanced firearms handling, defensive driving, real-time risk analysis, and emergency first aid.
Because of this intense demand, one of the most powerful moves you can make on your career tree is unlocking the Firearm Competency Combo. By combining your foundational PSIR grades with the SAPS-issued Firearm Competence Certificate for business purposes, you instantly transform into a highly sought-after professional. The industry has a massive, ongoing need for qualified armed officers to actively combat crime, and this combo is the golden key to unlocking those top-tier roles.
So, let's take a step back and look at this entire ecosystem we've just mapped out. You start with the absolute baseline, individual character vetting and PSIRA registration. Then you level up through grades E to A. From there, you have a choice. You can branch out into the heavily regulated dual-track roles, securing the skies or the seas. Or you can push toward the elite specializations, mastering firearms and tactical driving for VIP protection and armed escorts. It's a vast, highly structured, and super dynamic ecosystem.
Which leaves us with one final thought to close out this explainer today. When you look at the sheer scale of the training, the strict compliance, and the incredible specializations available to you, are you ready to level up and dominate the high-stakes world of South African private security? The roadmap is right there. The next move is entirely yours.